to thank you for having me, and thank you also for coming at this time. I know Vienna has a lot of different options that you can do even while it is raining. So thank you for coming to listen to the talk, The Last Driver License Holder. The Last Driver License Holder is based on a book that I've written 1.5 years ago, Der letzte Führerschein-Neuling auf Deutsch, ist bereits geboren. I have copies here for everyone, and also then another book that just came out in April, Foresight Mindset, wie das Silicon Valley die Zukunft designt und Trends und Geschäftsideen frühzeitig erkennt, so Trenderkennung, bevor sie Trends sind. You can all take a copy of each book, so feel free to take it and read through it if you have a bored moment to get through that. I'm from Vienna. I studied at the Technical University and University of Economy in Vienna. I did my PhD on chemical engineering, mechanical engineering actually. So I did exhaust emissions on heating oils. One heating oil was actually diesel, nothing else. So I never worked as a chemical engineer because I moved into Germany, Heidelberg, working for SAP for 3 years, and I'm moving to SAP Labs in Palo Alto in the Silicon Valley for another 12 years, working as a software engineer in the data warehousing space, big data, this kind of stuff. And then the last half of basically my 15-year stay with SAP on technology trend recognition and innovation strategy and all these kind of things, workshops, hackathons. So a lot of stuff that you're doing actually here as well. And that's what we had before the little program with some exercises, like the startups work hard and their mentors, so they're not all tired and have to eat all the cakes. So what today is about mobility, and the title of my talk is The Last Driver License Holder Has Already Been Born. And I want to introduce you to Max. Max is, as you can see, a little cutie boy here, cutie pie. He just had his second birthday, celebrating it with friends, with gifts, with cakes, with all this kind of stuff. And he's also the last person making a driver's license. And I see it in your eyes, a skeptical view here, glance here at me. Mario, you know, you're a PhD, but this is utter bullshit, right? Yeah. And I agree with you, because I don't know if it's Max or if it is Sophie. Yeah, or I don't Thomas or Maximilian. I have no idea any child that could live here in Moscow or in Vienna or in Vorarlberg or in Paris or in Rio. But one thing is sure, the last child who is going to make a driver's license is already among us. And before we look into the future, let's go and look a little bit into the past. 2016 in Austria, we commemorated Kaiser Franz Joseph. You remember that maybe 100 years, he died 100 years ago. The same emperor who gave us Sissi, well, the Germans gave us Sissi, which is in Bavaria, right? The same emperor who sent millions of people into the death with the First World War I. And I thought, you know what? Let's go to the Imperial Carriage Museum, the Kaiserliche Wagenburg in the Summer Palace in Schloss Schönbrunn, and look at the cars, the vehicles that they have there, because I'm writing a book, right? So maybe I find some nugget that I could add to that. And in fact, I was standing in front of that horse carriage, and that was the Porsche of its time. It was a luxurious, elegant sports coach. And the emperor didn't just sit here in a bag and had somebody drive him. No, he sat up there and controlled the carriage himself. He liked that so much that the Imperial Carriage Museum today still has 6 carriages of that model, and in total 24 carriages of that coachmaker. And the coachmaker was Karl Marius.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Doesn't ring a bell. Why is that? Why don't we know Karl Marius? I mean, come on, he was the coachmaker of the Austrian Emperor. Everyone knew him back then. Why don't we know him? What happened to him? Well, the future happened to him, right? And he was not able to make it into the future because automobiles came. Yeah? And when we look at that, actually, who were the automotive pioneers, the people that we are basically listing as those people responsible for bringing us the car? These are people that were, mechanical engineers. Every profession that was necessary in the transport industry back then, right? Horse carriage makers, horse breeders, stable owners, everything that was around that business, nobody is in there. But suddenly it became important to drill metals, to bend metals, to know about fuels, yeah, to know about electricity, and that were suddenly the hot places, the hot professions to know about. And that is typically, if we are seeing people coming into your industry with very different skill profiles, that is a good sign that there's disruption going on in the very business that you're in. And we come to that back later again. I want to remind you of the horse shit crisis of 1894. You probably heard it from your great-grandparents, right? Yeah. Those of you who've been in downtown Vienna, in Innenstadt, know that. Horses defecate, right? So when we look at that, every horse basically creates between 7 to 15 kilograms of horse manure every day, and between 1 to 2 liters of urine that it just releases on the street, right? So you can imagine that when you have 100,000 horses in New York and 100,000 horses in London, that basically this shit piles up, right? And that's how it looked like. So this is, imagine now, it's a summer day, it's dried out, the wind blows through that, you have it in your nostrils, you have it all over your clothing, right? The olfactory experience of the good old times must have been exceptional. Or when it's raining like it is now, yeah, and that's how the horseshoe turns into, this mud kind of stuff. And if you're, you know Vienna, of course, and you have noticed that these old houses, these Bürger houses, often these metal plates in front of the door, yeah, they could basically scrape off the dirt. Well, dirt is a euphemistic word. It was horse shit, yeah, that you put off there. And for those who speak German, where do you think the name Kotflügel comes from? Yeah, basically on the car, the mud flaps. Yeah, that is really horse manure that was thrown up when you drove through that. Yeah, so the London Times predicted in 1894 if the development of cities, the growth of cities, and the transportation needs are increasing like that, as we've seen, then in 1944, 50 years from now, every street in London will be covered under 3 meters of horse shit. You remember those times? Yeah, did your grandparents tell you about that? No? At different times, there was more rubble and the bricks that were covering the roads, but for other reasons. But horse shit was not amongst that, because the technology came that replaced that old technology, and that was the car, right? Which solved at least that problem, but it brought us some other problems, of course. So this is a picture of the Fifth Avenue in 1900. And what we see is a typical scenario of a traffic. We have the pedestrians, we have here horse carriages. There's also one car in there. Anyone able to see the car? Sharp-eyed, eagle-eyed, being able to notice that? You know, one of these new toys for the rich, totally unreliable, breaking down all the time, stinky, noisy, smelly. There are no gas stations anyways, so this thing will be going away very soon. It will not take off. It's just a hype, right? Anyone sees the car? It's actually here, so it doesn't work here. So this is the car that we have. We actually have a second car up here. Yeah. So this is 1900, New York, Fifth Avenue. 1913, New York, Fifth Avenue. Same street, completely different traffic scenario. Can anyone see the horse? The lonely horse carriage with the sad horse somewhere? It's in the same place, actually, almost the same place here. Yeah? When you look closer, actually, you see here a buggy whip and here another buggy whip. So this seem to be 2 other horse carriages. So let me repeat it. Within 13 years, the scenario of traffic completely flipped in that very industry that we're talking about today. So it happened once already. That doesn't mean it could happen. Such a shift, such a topic, such a shift could happen again. I want to talk about 2 technologies that are currently disrupting the automotive industry. I'm not talking about sharing, I'm not talking about connected car. We focus on autonomous driving and electric driving. So, autonomous driving, and this is a list of 62 companies that have today in California a license to test autonomous vehicles on all public roads. Not a test track or a closed street somewhere, no, all of California. And we know, of course, BMW, Volkswagen, Apple, Tesla, Nissan, but have you ever heard about Jingji Corporation? Zoox. Yeah. Pony AI. Who are those guys? Yeah. And actually, we have to look at that. Zoox, they raised $800 million in venture capital to build the self-driving car. Here's how they look like. So some examples. They have all these kind of sensors sticking as LiDAR systems, these laser detection systems, that form a three-dimensional point cloud. They have cameras, they have radar, they have ultrasound, a lot of other stuff that's being there. Also, as you can see, there are trucks being built. There's more than half a dozen companies developing the self-driving truck. Let me show you a video of such encounters because I'm driving around them, always filming those things. So this is a 6:40 in the morning in Mountain View. And these are the Waymo cars. Waymo is a company, it's a spin-off from Google. You see here the LiDAR dome, you see here the radar, you see here LiDARs here in front and in the back as well. So this equipment alone is $150,000 worth. Yeah? Here's a Waymo car making a U-turn, 180-degree turn. Here's Drive AI in Mountain View. There's a Waymo car just beside them. There's so many driving around that they encounter each other, of course, all the time. Here's a Waymo car on Central Expressway, and here's already another Waymo car waiting. Waymo alone has around 800 cars on the road. All over California, we have 700-800 cars, and in all the US, 1,200 cars, autonomous experimental vehicles driving around. This is a vehicle from Google. Back then, this is a third-generation vehicle that didn't have steering wheel, didn't have gas and brake pedals. So you could not, as a human, interact with that. It was the computer doing that only. They had 60 vehicles of that. Here's a friend of mine, Austrian. He waves at them, and the car brakes because it interprets a gesture as a stop signal from a police officer, for example. He worked at Waymo, so he greeted his colleagues. He had 3 of those cars, 1, 2, 3. We had 60 cars of those, they're now retired. 180-degree turn. And here's a second-generation car that Google had, and you see here the rudimentary attachments and sensors of how they're built. Now they're more polished. This is in San Francisco, 4th Avenue Mission. That's a Uber car back then, the old one. This is a LiDAR system. That part alone is $70,000. Then cameras, as you can see, and GPS sensors. These were guys from Hofer, from the supermarket. This is Otto, not the retailer, but the truck company. Here's your sensor, here camera. I couldn't make a better video because I was driving myself. So. This is a company that actually builds delivery robots that are going to drive on the street, so they're using cars as their mules at the moment. Here's General Motors Cruise. General Motors has around 130 cars on the road. That was a car that we didn't know who that is. Turns out it's Apple. Apple, in the meantime, has also around 70 cars driving around, developing autonomous systems. This is an Apple Street Map car, so they create high precision maps with centimeter-wise precise, curb height and lane markings and so on. That's Umbrella, another mapping car. That is a company that we don't know, still don't know. On my blog, I have basically a tag that says unidentified autonomous vehicle. That's Jingji, or they call now WeRide, Chinese startup that has offices in Silicon Valley. This is a French maker of shuttle buses. Seestadt Aspern has also similar ones. There are 2 makers, French makers. They're driving around in an office park in the East Bay. That's now Zoox, the guys that raised $700 million. This is in San Francisco driving around. I know where the headquarters now is, so I can hang out and see the cars and film them. Here is a Drive AI car, and while I filmed that, a Waymo car photobombs me here. So, pushes itself in between. There's another Drive AI car that's done in blue. Here's Plus AI on the highway. Plus AI is a company that focuses mainly nowadays on building self-driving trucks. And that is, back then I live here, my apartment is here, and I saw that car, so I turned around, followed him to make the video. That's what I do, because I have nothing else to do. General Motors Cruise, followed by Zoox car. That's San Francisco on the piers, so the Embarcadero, when you've been there. So you see they are countering each other, seeing each other, and realizing how far the others are. So that means that gives some competition and push for them. That's a Zoox car again. They are building the whole car. That's why they have these strange arrangements of their sensors on the car. So all the sensors together are probably $200,000 that they had on there. This is a Mirai car and here's a Waymo car waiting. This is Aurora, funded by ex-Tesla, ex-Waymo, ex-Uber guys. Volkswagen wanted to buy them. They said no. You're not gonna get bought. This is Toyota. Here's a truck from Waymo on the highway. Shaky. Here's a Waymo car following me. And as it turns out, another Waymo car. Yes, it's tailgated here. But and then there are these things like these cool boxes on wheels, bringing the pizza from the pizza restaurant to your office. Yeah. Or these kind of things, safety robot, security robot, patrolling the parking lot, reading license plates. But also having sensors in there that can detect ammonium. Yeah. And ammonium is in your urine, so if somebody peed somewhere where they should not pee, it can detect that and do that. In other words, self-driving autonomous systems are already here. They're just not evenly distributed. And they're also driving in rain. So often when I talk to Germans, they tell me, oh, well, as soon as it's raining, they cannot drive anymore because the sensors are getting confused. Yeah, bullshit. Here they're testing, they're developing those algorithms so that they can drive in rain and in snow. So just because you say it and you cannot do it, doesn't mean others can't do that. And actually they're doing that, so I have a number of cars. Winter is normally the rain time in California, where I am. And we have 9 months of sun. And this is the only time, basically, in December and January, where I had encountered cars driving in rain and showing that they are doing that. Back then in 2016, there were around 700 companies who were developing technology for self-driving cars, from processors, sensors, connectivity, mapping algorithms, security, safety, development tools, to the full autonomous solution. Nowadays it's about 2,500 companies. So what you can get out of that is this stuff is coming. Even if a few companies are going bankrupt or getting out of business, going out of business, this technology is coming. From 2013 to 2018, actually, there were $80 billion, conservatively estimated, invested into self-driving technology. So there's a lot of money involved in the meantime to basically tackle that $2 trillion industry that's supposed to be $30 trillion then in 2030. And this is a way of how you can use this technology in a different way.
The Dutch cycle more than any other nation in the world, almost 900 kilometers per person. But that also means we have 350,000 bike-related injuries. Now imagine that we would make biking safer, smarter and easier by applying self-driving technology to biking. We try our self-driving bike to figure out where it is, what's around it, what will happen next, and what it should do. We leaned on Google's expertise in self-driving cars, but we had to adapt the technology to work on a bike. We decided to add 2 additional features. First, you can request the bike to pick you up wherever you are, and we developed a comfort mode, adjusting the pedals to a perfect resting position.
I think the self-riding bike could really give a boost to the economy, because people could also work on their bicycle. You work in your office, you work in your home, you work in your car. You can even work on your bike.
I have so much more time. My kids love it. They're just free, they can go anywhere they want.
At the Feature School, we feel that this is the biggest invention since the invention of the bicycle itself.
At Google, we always put our users first. With the launch of this bike, we believe we do that again.
We just missed the sales page, right? So that was an April Fool's joke 3 years ago. But as it turns out, reality surpasses the April Fool's joke, because a few months ago, in February this year, Uber revealed that they have a department developing self-driving e-scooters and self-driving e-bikes. Why? Well, because where do you position today these bikes and how do you do that? People are bringing those bikes and the scooters in this district, yeah, and then there's a larger demand in other districts. They have to send people there in order to carry that to the high demand districts, right? Now, with such a technology, you can basically press a button from the central headquarters and have them drive themselves to those areas with high demand. Also think of that, one of my clients is Harley-Davidson, motorbike makers, and 30% of all fatal motorbike accidents are happening without the influence of somebody else. It's just motorbike riding errors, yeah, that are immediately fatal. There's no zone here, safety zone. Now imagine you put that technology on a motorbike and it detects an error that you're gonna make and corrects the error before you make it, before it's fatal. You live to tell the story, right? So there is a certain benefit of that technology. That's a glance into the Google garage. So you see here the 60 vehicles that they are now retired, third generation. That is their fourth generation. They have 800 cars of those. You see even that they didn't have yet this LiDAR domes on that because that they were preparing that. Because I knew where the place is, I took this picture. Since then I'm a persona non grata on the Rainbow campus. That's the risk that you take in order to present something like that to you. And also they closed everything so you cannot take pictures anymore. This is the list. This is a list of some of those automotive pioneers of the second automotive revolution that we see here. So we have Elon Musk, who built electric cars with Tesla and autopilot system. He's actually a physicist. So having done also PayPal, he is a digital guy, definitely, so he knows that stuff. You have Sergey Brin and Larry Page, who are the founders of Google. They are computer scientists. You have Kylie Vogt, who founded Cruise Automation, which was acquired by General Motors for $970 million. He's a roboticist. Then you have Sebastian Schoen, he's the godfather of self-driving, a German, who was back then professor at Stanford AI Lab. And he's a computer scientist. He won the DARPA Grand Challenge back then on autonomous driving and subsequently was hired by Google to build out this group that turned into Waymo. These are his alumni, so to speak. They are artificial intelligence experts and computer scientists. This is Robin Li, the founder and CEO of Baidu, the Chinese internet behemoth. He's a computer scientist. What professions do we not see here in this automotive revolution? Mechanics, electricians here, fuel experts, everything basically that you hire today or have hired or have employed in your company today. So not the metal benders are important, but the data benders, so to speak. Yeah? Because it's not about anymore bending metals precisely or drilling them precisely or knowing everything about electricity. It becomes about the data on that. And I give you an example. So this is how a self-driving vehicle sees the world through its sensors. It has to figure out where am I and what's around me. Are these people, the motorbikers, bicyclists, street signs, cars, these trees, what else is there? Yeah? And I follow the lane markers here, but suddenly I have traffic codes. What is valid for me? What should I follow now? Yeah? Or here's a bicyclist that we see in the video. The bicyclist has a very different dynamics while biking than a car. Yeah? Or here's a car parked. Ah, that's a police car. Oh, that's active. Now, does it mean me? Does it mean somebody else? Can I drive or should I wait for some action? Yeah? So these are things that I have to decide in a fraction of seconds. Not 3 hours later. What was that on the intersection? Oh, the child. Oh, too late now, right? One self-driving car creates within an hour 1 to 4 terabyte of data. So if you have a smartphone like this, 256 gigabyte, it means one self-driving car writes 4 to 6 smartphones full with data. Who can deal with that amount of data and make decisions and filter that and basically put algorithms over that and have within a fraction of a second a result to make a decision on that? Are these the metal benders or are these those guys here? Yeah? So probably those guys. I was at SAP in the big data world, the data warehousing, and back then in 2000 we had in total 5 terabyte customers, 5 customers with terabyte of data. These were the Walmart, these large supermarket stores here. that have that, but not everyone. Today, in 2019, almost every one of us has terabytes of data, movies, videos, pictures, all this kind of stuff, music at home. And those guys are best suited to deal with those amount of things. It's really difficult to manage those data. I know that I was in that space. How far are we with that? Anyone seen ever a Tesla? Yeah. Driven a Tesla? Yeah. Yeah. Owning a Tesla? Yeah. Yeah. So that's something that you probably also want to look into. Make it as a corporate event, maybe a Tesla team event, riding with them. Because then you can also take a look at certain things. First, you see those cameras here, the Tesla. Every Tesla that was built since October 2016 has 8 cameras in there that basically cover the surrounding of the whole car. They have radar ultrasound. 500,000 cars are produced since then that have this equipment. Plus, they have graphic processing units, chips, computer chips in there that are being able to deal with those amount of data and work on it. Now, the software is not here for self-driving, but the hardware is already built in. And because you upload the data, the software, not by driving through the service or the mechanic, but over the air, it means over the internet or in the night, suddenly, once in a year or two, the autopilot version that makes autonomous driving possible is there, and you get suddenly 500,000 or 1 million cars that can drive itself autonomously on public roads. Today, they're already uploading data to every car where the owner has agreed to that. Is uploading 4 gigabyte of data every month to Tesla in the machine learning system to create that autonomous pilot system that they have. So just imagine also that equipment is around $800. An equipment that's not working, or not working in the final sense that you want to have it. If you work for BMW, Volkswagen, or for Kapsch, as a provider, as a supplier for those companies, and you suggest to equip those vehicles with $800 worth of hardware, let's say it's your hardware, you would be happy about that, but BMW probably will say, fuck you, you're not doing that. Here, we have an owner, Elon Musk, who just says so and does it, and collects data. He has the largest fleet, basically, that collects the data and builds it into his machine learning system. I'll show you an example of a self-driving car. It's mounting you. Self-driving car turns around the corner. And nothing special, right? Just self-driving car making a right turn. Yeah? What's so special? I explain it to you. So first, self-driving cars, what is solved is categorizing, detecting objects. This is a solved problem in Silicon Valley. Knowing that this is a car, knowing that this is a lane marker, knowing that this is a traffic sign, knowing that this is a traffic signal, knowing that there are people in here. The categorization of objects is a solved issue. What is more the problem today is intent of other traffic participants. So in this case, when we look at that, we see it's green here in this direction, and this car wants to turn right here. But who is also green? Not just the cars, but also the pedestrians. Yeah? So there are 2 pedestrians, 2 women standing there, and the car has to figure out what is their intent. Are they wanting to cross the street or not? Should I wait for them or can I go? Yeah? And when we look closely at that, so one way that it may detect that is by projecting the trajectory. So the person is walking, and I realize, okay, this person, if she continues like that, she will be crossing the street, so I wait. Yeah? Another one is, if we are normally as reasonable pedestrians walking, I look at the driver sees me, she sees me, and we communicate basically face eye-to-eye contact, and she gives me basically the sign, I see you, go. Yeah? So that's what the camera, what the self-driving car is also trying to do. Look at where the face is looking. Is the face looking at me to communicate? Now there are 2 women, and we'll look at that. So the car is coming here, one woman is standing with the back to the car. So the face is going in this direction. So the car is not able to communicate with that woman. Huh? The other woman is standing across this person and talking to her, but the face also looks basically in the direction of the camera, and the camera has to figure out, is she communicating with me or is she communicating with somebody else? Yeah? And so the car makes a small inch forward, waits, inches another time forward, waits again, and then it makes a turn, realizing those people are not going to do anything. Let's take a look at that. Here are two women, the car inches forward, one stands with the back to the car, the other one looks at the car hesitates, moves again forward, and now it decides, okay, they're not going to move, they're not communicating with me, so I make the right turn. Very subtle, yeah? This is for us humans very normal, yeah? We are growing up with that. For the car, for the computer, it has to be, they have to be taught to do that. Now, this may be something that I can easily do on, let's say, a test track. We have a closed circuit and come up with a scenario, and there may be thousands or hundreds of thousands of scenarios like that I can do. But there may be scenarios with all my imagination that I cannot foresee. And I'll show you one of those examples.
And so, just a couple of months ago, our vehicles were driving through Mountain View, and this is what we encountered. This is a woman in an electric wheelchair chasing a duck in circles on the road.
A woman in an electric wheelchair holding a broomstick, that's what you also see here, she holds a broomstick, chasing a duck by circling in the middle of the road. I do not know what's happening here. I'm not going to understand that situation. And the computer probably also will never understand that. But still, the computer, the car, has to react safely to that situation, let it pass, and then continue driving. Yeah? And that may be a situation that happens in Mountain View maybe once in 5 years. Yeah? How do we know how crazy people are in Mountain View, right? Or it may be happening once in 10 years in America or North America. Yeah? But the thing is, I need to have those cars on the road. I cannot just drive them on test tracks or on the A2, A2 down there in Styria. Yeah? And I think I have to drive them everywhere in real life. And a lot of cars, and many, many miles, in hopefully a very, very safe manner, so that during these experiments, no accidents are happening, but I need to drive that because I need to encounter those kind of strange, crazy driving scenarios. Here's a question to you. Have you seen a self-driving car in one of our cities? Yeah. When I ask you, the Germans also, never anybody has seen that. They not have seen even fleets driving around. We have 1,200 cars today in the US, 800 of which are driving in Silicon Valley. They are operated as fleets with passengers, with external passengers, some of them even already commercial. So how much do you think is the gap in technology development between those companies and the German automotive industry? We're talking about 5 to 7 years at least. Yeah? And this is not a linear, it's an exponential difference that we have here. So I give you some numbers. The closest to some good comparison that we have are so-called disengagements. Every year in California, all the companies that are testing autonomous vehicles on streets who have such a license have to submit a report, and this report has to contain how many cars did you operate on our streets, how many miles did they drive, and how many disengagements did they have. And a disengagement is something where the computer, for example, doesn't know how to deal with a certain situation and hands back control to a safety driver. Safety drivers are still required, with the exception of one company. One company can drive without a safety driver, that's Waymo. Or when the safety driver thinks there is a situation happening and takes over control of the car. So when we tabulate that thing and put it into numbers, we realize that Waymo today has on average a disengagement every 17,000, 18,000 kilometers. So the car needs you only every 18,000 kilometers. When you drive 12,000 kilometers a year on average, like in Austria or in Germany or in Spain, yeah, that means your car needs you only every 1.5 years to help it out. Yeah? GM Cruise, for example, is also at 5,500 miles, which is around 10,000 kilometers. And then on the other hand, we have Uber and Apple, where you need intervention by safety driver every half kilometer to kilometer. And if Mercedes, they pioneered autonomous driving in the 90s, in the early 90s. They had great traction. They drove from Stockholm to Munich, Munich to Paris on highway in the cities with the technology back then, which was quite a feat, honestly. They need intervention every 2 kilometers. The regulator may come in and say, okay, only those cars, only those providers have the best statistics. So they are the ones that you have to license because you have to think of everyone else, the population as a whole, and you guys, you have to license that. Yeah? So this is the status of engagements, disengagements today. And Waymo is the leader, the clear leader in that. They started in 2009. They invested $7 billion so far into this technology. They launched the first commercial robotaxi service. It's the world's first commercial robotaxi service in Phoenix on an area of 259 square kilometers. Stuttgart, for example, is 207 square kilometers. Vienna, 400 square kilometers. With currently a few hundred cars that they're covering here. And they are going to get 20,000 Jaguar I-Pace, which are actually manufactured in Austria, and 62,000 Fiat Chrysler. So they're coming out with 82,000 cars in the next 2 years, robotaxis. Just to give you a comparison, there are in New York. New York has 13,000 taxis with 43,000 drivers, and all of the US is 243,000 taxis. And now Google alone is coming with 82,000 robotaxis on there. That will change a lot, yeah, for a lot of people, for a lot of businesses here. This is, for example, a parking lot at Walmart. You know, this large retailer, box retailer. That is a line, pickup line. So if you ordered goods at Walmart online, and then you drive and take a Waymo to drive there, here's a sales associate waiting to hand you over then your online shopping, and you go there. Now the thing is, Walmart is paying Waymo, that Walmart is allowed to paint that thing and have the sign on its own parking lot. So that basically, this is the first revenue model that Waymo has. Get money from the supermarkets, from the stores. Here's another one. Here's a passenger pickup in Phoenix for a Waymo car. So if you're driving to a supermarket, it lets you out, it drops you off at the entrance of the supermarket, but it picks you up somewhere else, because it turns out when you're driving with fleets and with passengers, that the passengers want to be picked up somewhere else, not at the entrance of the supermarket, but at the return of the shopping cart return area. So that's where you have a sign. The supermarket is paying for that they're allowed to have this sign there. It basically brings them customers if Waymo brings them those people. So that was about a little bit about the role of autonomous cars. Let's go to electric vehicles. Model 3, as you can see, I live actually 8 minutes south of the Fremont the Tesla factory in Fremont. So when we look at that, the last time I was sitting on a balcony, every 10th car that drove by was a Model 3. It's like already a Volkswagen Golf or a Volkswagen Beetle back then, yeah. That is so popular. Actually, California has now over 5% of electric vehicles, which the Model 3 is the largest contributor to that. So let's look at combustion engine cars first. This is an 8-cylinder engine, and an 8-cylinder engine has approximately 1,200 pieces, components that you have. If you calculate transmissions in there, if you put in exhaust systems and fuel system, you come easily to 2,000 components that go to have and run an engine there. If you look at an electric motor from, let's say, a Tesla, electric motor has 2,000 components. 2,000 versus 20. Behind each component is an engineer who designs that. Behind each component is a person who creates, manufactures that, a person who makes documentation, a person who makes quality assurance. So if you have 2,000 components versus 20 components only, you know there's a lot of going to change, and that is describing a little bit the difficulties that our automotive manufacturers have with committing to electric vehicles, because they know that a lot of the employees that they have are becoming obsolete in their companies, and we talk about the numbers a little bit. Charging stations. Charging stations is not really that expensive. $3,000, $7,500. For example, a gas station costs $500,000 and upwards. Fuel cell, a hydrogen station costs $1.5 million and upwards. And you can put them anywhere, the charging station. Even my favorite cafe had a charging station in front of it because you even paid nothing there while you were charging. Because you went anyways there, had a cafe and a croissant or some pastry, and where you do that. Yeah? Now, of course, I mentioned Tesla, but Tesla is by far not the only company building electric vehicles. China alone is rumored to have 500 companies building or planning to build electric vehicles. Some of them more serious, some of them less, but there's a whole avalanche coming. I showed just one video of a delivery of electric buses. This is in Shenzhen. Shenzhen is the sister city of Hong Kong. You know, your iPhone was probably built there, assembled there. Yeah, that's why they're doing the electronic capital of the world. That's a delivery of one batch of 400-500 electric buses. Shenzhen had 16,400 diesel buses for public transport, and they switched within 2 years to electric buses. So 16,400 electric buses are now operating there, like those. In between, we see electric taxis. They also switched a year later. They completed the switch to electric taxis. They had 20,000 electric taxis now. Beijing, for example, is looking at exchanging 70,000 diesel taxis to electric taxis also in the next 2 years. Today we have 425,000 electric buses like this driving worldwide, of which 421,000 are in China. Europe has around 2,250 electric buses like these. The US, we talk about 300. I'm not talking about trolley buses, you know, like in Salzburg or like you see in San Francisco, you know, with these wires. I'm talking about batteries on the bottom. So if you are talking about who leads electrification of vehicles, it's certainly not our car makers. Yeah? You have China leading by far, and then you have the US, and then it's long nothing, and then comes Europe, yeah, with the thing. So we already lost that technology. That is already over for us. We don't have battery factories, a lot of infrastructure missing. Yeah? We still have a lot of discussions. We're still favoring, legal-wise, bylaws, the diesel cars. Now this is a look into cockpits of electric cars. So this is a Model 3. The most prominent feature is the touchpad that you have here. This is a 3 Series BMW and this is a C-Class. How does it feel? So I feel like I'm standing here at Technical Museum in Vienna in front of an old steam engine. And I have to say, my father was with the ÖBB for 40 years, my grandfather was with the ÖBB, my great-grandfather was with the Reichsbahn back then. Yeah? So we have 3 generations of trained people in the family. I love steam trains, you know? But that feels here, when I look at that, feels like, you know, this big levers that you have, there's big wheels that you turn, and there's gauges that are having these big things. Yeah? It's like this steam age thing. This is an i3, BMW i3, which is their electric vehicle, which is kind of, as you see already, a little bit in between, maybe still a little bit more here, but it goes into the digital space. And then General Motors showed last year how the next generation Chevrolet Bolt will look like. Chevrolet Bolt is the one car that's sold in Germany under as the name Opel Ampera. What do we see, or what do we not see?
Steering wheel.
A steering, correct, here's shock eyes, yeah. We have no steering wheel here anymore, right? And somebody went ahead and did here Photoshop job on the Model 3. So here Photoshopped basically that steering wheel out of that picture, which gives us an impression of what the Model 3 is. The Model 3 has been already designed as an autonomous vehicle. Actually, it makes it easy to manufacture, and you don't have a steering wheel in there anymore, right? This is just superfluous components that require more parts. It can go defect and so on, need maintenance, etc. And then a few weeks ago, Tesla had its autonomous day where they introduced their strategy for autopilot and autonomous driving and showed that screen. That's basically their Model S version in 2 years. No steering wheel. Yeah, they wanted to launch a robotaxi fleet, a full autonomous. So if you are a Model S, Model X, Model 3 owner, you can have your car contribute to the robotaxi fleet. So in the morning you drive with the car to work. instead of having it parked 8 hours while you're at work, you just let it go, and it goes and contributes and drives as a robotaxi around for you, making money for you. And that's their vision here. Here are sales numbers also. So these are the sales numbers from December 2018. There are more accurate, newer ones also for Europe now, with the Model 3 being available here. But what you can see is basically that in this class of sedan cars, from those makers, the German makers, Tesla basically sells half of the cars that those 4 big automakers sell in the US in that class. And you see also how their sales dropped for the last 8, 9, 10 months, always by 20 to 30%. So there's a real problem, and you see the impact of the Model 3 already. When we look also at the development of how the sales are extrapolating, we see that it took 60 months to have 1 million electric vehicles worldwide. 17 months only for the next million in order to go to 2 million, 10 months for the third million, 6 months for the fourth, and that was 4 months only for the next million. So this is an exponential curve. We see that actually in the sales numbers now in Austria or in Germany, we see a doubling of new registrations of electric vehicles every around 18 months. Yeah, so worldwide it's like a little bit more than 12 months. So if you can calculate that now, and say today in Germany we had 1.9% of registrations in April this month of new cars, of electric vehicles. In Austria 2.2, in Netherlands 7.3, and in Norway 58% were new cars. You can calculate how long it will take until the majority of newly registered cars are electric. So let's say 18 months is 1.5 years, we are 2 now. So in 18 months we have 4%. In another 18 months we have 8%. In another 18 months we have 16%, 32%, 64%. There are 5 cycles of 1.5 years. That's 7.5 years. So it means in 2026, 2027, we will have the majority of new registered vehicles will be electric. It's not 2035 or 2040, it's much faster coming, because this is normally an exponential curve for adopting new technologies. Here's Germany. These are the charging stations. You are full of Teslas. Here another one. This is on the same day that the first Model 3s were delivered in Germany. Yeah, charging stations were full with that, with new electric vehicles. Yeah, also old electric vehicles passing by. Yeah. So, and that is basically the future of the combustion engine car. My wife has a Model 3 since February. I get one next week, so I just ordered it. And it's a very different way of driving a car. Once you have done that, once you drive electric or driven electric, you're never going back to a dinosaur juice car anymore. Yeah? It's such a different driving experience, and much cheaper. Yeah? For example, she had a BMW X3. That was an SUV. She paid every month, every week, $60 to $70 in gasoline. Today, with the electric car, she pays like $30 a month in electricity costs. So there's no comparison to that. That is BMW Motorenwerke in Steyr, 4,100 people, big success story, Austria that we always talk about. What do you think will happen in 5 years with them when we have no engines anymore in there? Yeah? Like this here. We have a problem at hand, a political, societal problem. Yeah? These people are out of jobs. Yeah? That's why our companies are resisting that push to that. Why they are forcing or trying to get by diesels and this kind of stuff, because they exactly know that they have a problem at hand. And when we look at the numbers, today 1/3 of all employees in the automotive industry are working on the engine and the supporting parts of the engine. So we have Volkswagen with 640,000 employees. There are 210,000 employees that are basically simply tabulating on the engine. Now if they go full electric, we need only 10% of those people. And these are not the same skills, you know. If you are responsible for an insulation ring, yeah, you're not going to make battery chemistry. You're not going to program a self-driving car anymore. And this is only the optimistic view, yeah, if they manage to switch to 100% electric cars. If they're not managing that, then the whole share will decrease, yeah, in that. So we are currently on the verge of losing the industry that we have invented. Carl Benz was from Mannheim, the Mannheim area. Yeah. Porsche Pierre, there are still Austrian families owning the majority of Volkswagen. So this is our history that we're losing here. Yeah. I mean, the past, the future, we're losing the future. Let's say this way, the history is already done. These are 5 companies that are the most valuable companies in the US. Yeah? They are worth $4,200 billion, $4.2 trillion. They are all younger than 45 years. 3 of them are younger than 25 years. When I look at the German stock index, DAX 30 companies, they're worth together $1.4 trillion. 24 out of the 30 companies are older than 100 years. Yeah, we are surviving. Yeah, well, holy shit, we're not getting new companies up there, right? The most valuable company is actually SAP, $145 billion, the most valuable company there. And the only digital company of basically of world reputation that Germany has at the moment. And still this company is only 4th of the smallest company, which is Facebook here. Yeah? So, and I'm not talking even about the Chinese. So we are not getting digital. We are nowhere with that. And this leads us to way more discussions on GDPR, privacy, missing broadband connection, smartphone distribution, new smartphone distribution in companies. That brings us to all these discussions on how fit are we actually digital. We talk about digital transformation, like teenagers, we talk about sex, nobody has it. Yeah? And digitalization is also, we talk about it, and nobody does it. Yeah? Here, it's in the nature, it's in the DNA there. Yeah? So we are already missing a lot, and we have to really accelerate more and become more courageous in the things. Typically, when such a disruption happens, 50 to 90% of the companies are disappearing. We have it already with the people doing the workshop this morning. What phone did you have in 2006? For those of you who are old enough to have had a phone back then. What phone? Nokia? Ericsson. What else?
BlackBerry, Nokia.
Siemens, yeah.
BlackBerry.
BlackBerry, yeah. Was that Kapsch phone too? No, it wasn't. Motorola, yeah. Samsung, yeah. We already had Nokia. Okay, so which one of those companies is still around, making a significant market, having a significant market share in smartphones? Samsung. What about the other 5? They're not here anymore. They're sold or out of business. Basically, went out of that business. Yeah. Or were acquired. Yeah. So here, I was last week at Mercedes. So I always put the X on the company that's inviting me for inspirational thoughts. Yeah. When I was at Porsche, I put the X on Porsche and the check mark over there. And then at Porsche, I had this guy, this boss, this top guy of this unit jumping out. We're taking care of that Porsche. We'll have that check mark. Yeah, we'll be here. That's the spirit. Yeah? That's how it should be. So who will be here or not, I don't know. I'm not smarter than you in that case. I cannot predict the future. But there's a good chance that the majority of these companies will not be here, not be independent anymore. Which brings us to jobs. Because self-driving trucks don't need truck drivers, right? It's anyway a shitty job, honestly speaking. Yeah? It's not your priority #1 job that you dream as a child to do the truck driver. Yeah? It's unhealthy, you're not doing exercise, it's dangerous, you're away from family, yeah, all these kind of things. It's actually not a good job. Insurance companies, 50% of the premiums today that they have is car insurance market. In that is also a gateway drug to sell you other insurances, like life insurance, household insurance, etc. And that's in Germany. Those are old numbers. It's actually $28 billion in Germany. So it's around $3 billion in Austria. And self-driving cars are driving safer than you do, 80–90%. That means suddenly, out of the 28 billion, 24 are gone. Yeah? And I explained it to your shareholders if an insurance company. Or traffic lights, they cost between 35 and 250,000 euros. Germany alone has 3 million traffic lights. Who needs them? Humans. Yeah? Self-driving cars? Let's take a look.
After all, a traffic light is just a tool for drivers on one road to communicate with drivers on another, orderly and coarsely. Red equals don't go now, we are coming through the intersection. Green equals good to go. But self-driving cars can talk to each other at the speed of light. With that kind of coordination, no traffic light necessary.
Well, I think I would shit my pants if I was sitting in a car driving like that, right? So we probably have like 80-90% of traffic lights, we don't need them anymore. Just think of signs. I was recently at the headquartered for österreichische Verkehrswissenschaftliche Gesellschaft, so some people there, and one guy was making traffic signs. Yeah. A traffic sign costs between 80 to €200 plus installation costs. Austria has around, let me guess, 2 million traffic signs. So what's his business in the next 10 years?
Recycling.
Recycling. Perfect. He has some future, yeah. That's you should tell him, yeah. So his business will be going. So he has to look for different businesses in metal recycling, yeah, from traffic signs. Because you can put that on a digital map. Yeah? It's much easier because you can change the speed limits or the parking restrictions much easier there. A parking space costs between 20 to 30,000 euro. Austria has 4 parking spaces per car. So if you tally that up, you figure out that all the parking spaces in Austria are worth more than all the cars on the road. And just look at it. I mean, in Vienna alone, we have 700,000 cars. They are parking and using a space that's half of the Danube Island, Donau. That's how much space. And 90%, 95% of them are standing around because you're driving there maximum 38 minutes on average a day. Yeah, they are over 23 hours parked. So that's a waste of resources here. And then also, coming from a train family, it also hits me hard. Yeah, we had a few years ago when Kern was still the VVB head. A month later, he was chancellor. Yeah, also old times. He was in Silicon Valley, and we were sitting there and talking about, well, you take an Uber, this Uber picks you up, brings you to the Hauptbahnhof, right? And then you go take the train to Linz, and then there's another Uber waiting for you. When you have a train, self-driving Uber, why should I get out of that at the train station, try to find my train with all my luggage, and then I'm finally having that train that comes late, yeah, sitting in there, and then I'm in the apartment with a guy who eats a Leberkäse sandwich, yeah, and smells everything full, yeah. I'm just sitting in the self-driving car and going up to Linz. Even if it takes half an hour long, I don't care. Yeah? And it turns out, for example, in San Francisco, with a very bad public transport system, yeah, that most women are not taking public transport, subways, or streetcars or buses, not even taking taxis, they're using Uber. Why? Anyone imagine why women would choose Uber over taxi?
Safe.
Safe, why safer? Huh? No people? There's a driver in there. What else makes it safer? There's data created on you. Because we know where you were picked up, who was picked up, by whom, in what car, and what was the destination, and where the car went off. Yeah. So just think about a discussion in Austria, in Germany, and Europe generally on creating data on you. It's a very hysterical discussion on that. Yeah? I have a friend, she's a fashion designer from London. She lives in Berkeley, which is on the other side of San Francisco. Yeah? She could take the BART, which is kind of a subway system, costs her $5, but she's taking every day Uber to go to Levistrasse because that's where she works, and pays $11 because it's safer, because she can work. Yeah, all the thing. So you can have the best public transport system if your audience doesn't feel safe in that, and they have an option, they're taking the other option. Yeah? Even if it is less sustainable. And then there are these kind of transport systems of the future. Yeah. The drone wars have started. There's no sound here, so I make the sound. So if you didn't pay your Amazon bill, they come with a supper. Okay, so that is kind of stuff that people have in mind to go. So when we see dozens of jobs, dozens of professions that are going to disappear, going extinct, and some of them have much fewer people working in those areas. Now 2030, the majority of vehicles will be electric robotaxis. The last person on earth is going to make a driver's license. And it will be actually outlawed to drive a manual car on public roads. Because it's too dangerous, right? And we don't want that. So you can, of course, still drive your manual-driven car if you have a vintage car that you love so much, yeah, your Porsche. But it's just in a racetrack, yeah, Zeltweg, yeah, or you have that on, you know, Großglockner Hochhabenstraße on the weekend, yeah, when it's closed off for other traffic. So that's it. So if I can give you an investment tip, buy shares in racetracks. Which brings us back to history. This was 1900. This was 1913. So we talk about a period of 10 to 15 years, which is 2030, 2035. That this happened in that industry already before. Now, I need to give you a little bit about the mindset differences in Silicon Valley or Tel Aviv or China versus European. You may have heard about Gordon Moore. Gordon Moore is the guy who founded Intel. Yeah? He figured out in the 60s already that computer chips are doubling the number of transistors every 12, 18 months. Yeah? 18 months, let's say this way. And when you put it on a curve like that, basically you get on a logarithmic scale, you get a straight line. And people call it Moore's law. That's Moore's law. Yeah? And he said a few years ago, he's still alive, he said, no, that's not Moore's law. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because the people in the industry looked at that and said, you know what? It doubles every 18 months. If you're not doubling and planning in this direction, yeah, others will do it and we are gone. Yeah? So you see the same basically with self-driving vehicles. They see each other driving there and the sensors sticking out and the maneuvers that they're doing. So, oh God, if they're doing that, we cannot do that. We have to do that too. Yeah. So that has been fulfilled. It's still going on like this, and it's swapped over to other industries. You know, China to other computer industries. Now, in Germany and Austria, we have what I call reverse Moore's law. Because everyone tells you, electric vehicles, there are no charging stations. The lithium, there's not enough lithium here, and you know, diesel engine is so much better, and I want to hear the sound. This is what I want. I want the blood, the gasoline in my blood, right? Anyway, the cobalt comes from these bad countries. We shouldn't do that, yeah? Well, ignoring the fact that the oil is coming also from a lot of bad countries, right? That we base our gasoline on. Or self-driving cars. It's way too difficult. You know, there are always algorithms. 20 or 30 years ago, and people don't want to be driven. They want to drive themselves, right? Yeah. So everyone is kind of telling each other that nobody wants the technology. While those guys in Silicon Valley, in China, and other places are basically pushing ahead and going forward and doing that. Yeah? Every time I hear that from people, when I'm talking in the German, Austrian automotive industry, telling me those stories, yeah, that's Tesla will go bankrupt anyway soon. Yeah, so then will everything go back to normal and we can still work on our diesel engines. And that gap is increasing, and that gap is logarithmically. So you come to the point where you cannot cross that chasm anymore, where you cannot keep up and you lose out. And that is what I call the reverse Moore's law. Which brings me to you. Who has a voice assistant at home? One person, two, okay. Who has a phone with facial recognition? 2, 3 people, okay. Who has already used an Uber? Here we go. Who has used Pokemon Go? Yeah, 3, okay, good. Yeah. So the reason why I'm saying that, I'm asking that, I realized that a lot of people from Europe who are innovation managers, product development chiefs, innovation strategists, digital evangelists, journalists on digital trends, come and have an iPhone 6 in their hand. An iPhone 6. That's like 4 or 5 generations old. It's like I drive a 40-year-old car, not because I love vintage cars, because why would I need a new car? My car is good enough. Yeah? This is like you were still telephoning on a landline here. Yeah? And then that means you're not realizing what new technology is used, like facial recognition, and what it could mean for your own company, for your own products. Voice assistant. I had in January in Las Vegas, it was at the CES, a group of 35 Austrian IT consultants there. Yeah, Not one of them had a voice assistant, because the first reaction there, it's always listening. Yeah. Who's driving a car? Who has a car of you? Who has a car? Yeah. So cars are killing people, right? Yeah. With accidents, right? Injuring people. Has anyone ever heard that Alexa or Google Home has killed somebody? So we have these irrational fears of new technology, while we are using much more dangerous technology today. We are creating technology, you are creating technology that you want that other people buy, but you're afraid to use other people's technology. So it's about curiosity that you have to bring in to understand the world that's changing, what it means for your product. And this doesn't mean that you have to spend $1,000 on an iPhone or $50 on a smart speaker. You can use Pokemon Go. Shows you about augmented reality that 600-700 million people are still using today. Yeah? And this may be your customers. So I encourage you to look at technologies becoming, just make it a habit to try out every week another app, another technology from your competitors, from other people, and have that at home and learn about that and figure out what's the impact for you, how you can embed it into your own technologies. Because then, if you're not doing that, you will not make it into the future. If you want to read more, first, everyone gets a book, or 2 books, each of one, yeah, so feel free to take it down afterwards. I have also blogs on that where I have more accurate stuff than deutscheführerscheinlearning.com, and in English, The Last Driver License Holder, where I report out of Silicon Valley what I see, what I think is interesting, or let's say what interests me. So this is the book in German. The book comes out in English as well with updated material in October this year, so I just got the final dates when it's there. And that is the Foresight Mindset book, which is about how to discover trends before they're trends, yeah? And what the habits are and what the methodologies are so that you can help your own organization get in there. And for you personally, what does it mean for you in 5 years? What skills do you have to have in 5 years to be still relevant and have some interesting job? And I want to leave you now with a quote and with a video. And the quote is Elon Musk, who says, "I'm just trying to think about the future and not be sad. So what is the stuff that you do in order to make the world better than you found it? Yeah? What is the work that you do that makes other people here better off?" And here's the last video.
Good morning, Eric.
Yes, good morning. Let's go.
What is your destination today, Eric?
Destination is work, just like every day. Go, start driving.
Would you prefer the standard way?
No, I prefer you take me through China.
China is 15,000 miles from here. Loading maps and alternative language.
No, abort!
Aborting trip to work. What is your destination today, Eric?
Please, I am begging you, just take me to work.
Engaging climate control system.
No, enough with the climate control. Just drive.
Sensing nerves level rising. Activating relaxation music.
No, I just want to drive.
It might be your last chance to drive. Unfollow Julia. Shall we say it?
Eric.
Use a last chance to drive. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mario. I would be interested in if there would be any questions from your side to Mario. I think we have still a little bit of time in case. Feel free, I don't know.
There are a lot of self-driving cars in San Francisco in California, but there are no connected roads. What do you think? Is that a technology for the future, or are cars driving without connectivity?
Yeah, of course, that question comes from the company. It's completely clear because I left it out. So today, we have no connectivity. Yeah, there's no standard. The cities and the communities have no money for putting that in there, especially when there are no standards, when there's nobody using it today. So why should they invest in that? So the self-driving car companies like Waymo, Neo, and others made a clear decision already years ago not to spend any investigation or anything or resources on connected cars or connectivity here, because it's just not here. It's unclear, yeah? And they just not divert resources for that. So they say, when it's here, we will use it. And of course, yeah. But in the meantime, we developed that without the need for doing that. And we may actually be quicker with the onboard sensors that we have, that we solve all the problems that are possible or that we want to solve with the onboard sensors without being connected. In fact, the cars today are all disconnected. Out of cybersecurity reasons is one of those things. Yeah? We don't have broadband, this is another one. 5G is just an experimental stage. In San Francisco, you may see it sometimes 5G, which is based already on that, it's not that far. So, and of course you have a lot of, if you've been in San Francisco or in this area, what we've learned in the last 20 years having smartphones and cell phones is that we cannot rely on connectivity. Yeah? So they're not doing that. They have actually only one modem that is connected, and that is the modem that when basically a passenger wants you to be being picked up, that's connected, but the autonomous drive system is disconnected. I've seen the cars being updated actually with cables. Yeah? So they put the cable off over the loan and then plugged it into the server to update the software, download data that they have. So the other thing is that, of course, you have to really think of the solutions that you are having in mind for connectivity. If you really need connectivity for that, or whether this cannot be solved with the onboard sensors of the cars that they have. Yeah? Signal, traffic signal detection and what color they have. Yeah? And we've seen we actually don't need traffic signals in the future. Yeah? So it is actually cheaper, instead of putting even more sensors on the street and spending more money on that to the existing ones, communities rather prefer to take everything off that they don't need anymore. So a lot of other issues like platooning, yeah, where you connect the cars to talk to each other, could be easily solved without problem solved with sensors like a LiDAR system, because you just see it anyways. You're updating that, I don't know, 20, 40 times a second anyways. So when the car brakes, you see it and you start braking as well. So you have to really, I think, make a case for each of those things that you think are cases for connectivity today, if they're really relevant with the technology that these autonomous cars are using. Yeah, I would challenge probably most of those cases that you would see, which may give you an idea of how you have to think connectivity.
Any other comment, perhaps? Must not be
I have a question concerning the artificial intelligence, and when there is now the cars recognize that there will be an accident, yeah, and they are autonomous driving, and let's say in one car is a family with children, in the other car is an old man, and you said they have to decide. So there is a problem for me that a machine will decide who will die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. That's a trolley problem. Yeah. So do I decide to kill this person or that person, and how do I make this decision?
Yeah.
Let me go a step back. You drive car?
Yes.
Yeah. How long have you had your driver's license?
Very long already.
Yeah. Okay. Some significant time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in the situation to decide whom to kill?
No.
Who has been in a situation to decide whom to kill while driving?
While driving.
Sometimes I may have thought of, this fucking guy, I should have rolled over him, right? But you see already, that's basically a situation that's barely happening. That's a very insignificant situation. And the question, I think, is not the one that we want to ask, actually, whom to kill. The question that we want to give is how can we not kill anyone? Yeah? So this is how we develop the cars. So you cannot go ahead and say, theoretically, this is the old lady and this is the baby, yeah? And the old lady, well, her prime is anyways over, so let's take her and roll over her, right? No, the baby could be full of cancer already, yeah? Just has to live another year, takes a lot of medical costs, while the grandma may be the one who's writing the next kind of Harry Potter, making billions of dollars and all the people happy with that, yeah? Which means you would need facial recognition software on that thing, basically recognizing that you're this old lady that we protect and we kill her instead, yeah? You don't want that either, right? Being connected to that. So the question that we are asking is, how can I make sure that I'm killing nobody? Yeah. Now it's not when we talk about it that the human being is making the decision. A human being, have you learned it in driving school to make this decision?
No, this is a moral, or how should
Well,
I say?
let's come to morals here. So you never did that because nobody gave a fuck at the driving school about morals, yeah, who to kill. Yeah? So you never heard about it, but you think you make a better decision in a fraction of a second for a situation that you've never encountered before, yeah, that you will never encounter after that, probably, that you have not been trained on, than a computer system where maybe a couple of developers have spent person years on that decision, have tested that, have done that thing to make a decision, the best decisions of the situation. So here's already coming, the computer may be making actually the more moral decision than you do that. If he has a situation which is totally probably not relevant at all. The other thing is that actually it's not the developers who are doing that, but the machine learning system is learning about that. So it tries to figure out how to keep no collisions at all. So we're trying to get into no collisions, zero collisions at all. So if you want to make it about morals, yeah, and help self-driving car companies with that, we should more discuss other cases, not that case, but other moral cases. If we are passing by a bicyclist, for example, how much distance should you keep from the bicyclist? 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meters? Yeah? 1 meter gives you, let's say, 6% of traffic or collision probability, 2 meters 4%, and 3 meters 2%. So which distance should we use? 3 meters? Well, then we're in the opposite traffic, right? And suddenly here becomes, what should we do in such situations? Maybe not passing at all, yeah? Not provoking any collisions at all. So this is a more significant moral question or a more relevant problem on morals than the old lady and the baby or the whom to kill, which we want to avoid. Just to be clear, there was a self-driving car who killed somebody out of certain reasons, because the self-driving system actually was not connected to the brakes, and the safety driver was watching a fashion show, or she was supposed to be paying attention to that. And there will be in the future, very likely, with all technologies that happens, a self-driving car being in an accident that kills somebody. Yeah, it's like the airplane industry. Yeah? The reason why we are so safe today, traveling so safely, is because of all these accidents of the. The thing is, if one car, self-driving car, encounters a situation like that and learns from it, the whole fleet learns from that. So not just you learned about that and you tell her and him about that. They're hearing about it, they didn't really learn about that. Yeah? But self-driving cars, 100,000 cars in the fleet, they all suddenly drive that inch better. Yeah? So that is a technology that we actually want to bring on the street. The question should be for us, not the fear that the car is going to kill somebody, but these cars will be bringing down 80, 90 or even more % of traffic accidents. That's why the US is seeing that as a key technology to get to zero vision. No traffic fatalities in 2014. In Germany, we put up the ethics commission to figure out what happens if a self-driving car kills somebody. Yeah? So this is the kind of optimistic, pessimistic view that we have here. So it's a very, I don't want to diminish the problem, but I think first we have more relevant, moral problems to solve before we are coming to that specific problem here. Yeah? And then we have to deal with that, and that is like maybe one case in Germany a year. Yeah. Other questions?
So I think it's pretty clear that development in the coming years is probably resulting in many jobs being obsolete, right?
Professions.
Yeah, but in the end, there's a large number of people having no job in the future. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean,
yeah. So with every disruption, we're seeing that professions are disappearing. Now in the past, these disruptions have happened over longer periods of time than we are used to them today. Yeah? I just watched a documentary on the harbor in Hamburg from 1900, what was it, the 30s, the early 30s, and they were talking about jobs, professions there, dock worker kind of professions, that I've never heard of, and not have nothing to do with harbors and so, but these jobs have long gone. Yeah? So for us, many of these jobs that we are automating, like truck drivers, taxi drivers, yeah, are jobs where we have a political and societal responsibility to help those people find jobs or have jobs or retrain them or do something that there may be new jobs coming that they can easily take over, like who maintains all these robotaxi fleets? Yeah? What other services do we need around them where we can use people like that, yeah, that have that? Or are there options for those people to go into other disciplines or be retrained? Not all of them probably, but some of them. I'm telling you about that, not because I'm mean, yeah? I'm telling you about that today so that you can make a decision today for helping in the future those people to set up a program to have them. What we do not have normally is the car makers would not tell you about that. Yeah? They fear too much the resistance of the Workers' Council, of owners, of politics, of people in the company, that they're not telling you the truth about that. And it will hit them harder. If we are politicians, have politicians that are still celebrating the BMW Motorenwerk in Steyr and ignoring or willfully not talking about that because the next election period is in 4 years over anyways, yeah, then they retire, then this is irresponsible of those people. Yeah? And that is how the system is set up today. But you understood now that we need to think about that and what could be solutions for that. You know? We are talking maybe about universal basic income. We're talking about maybe robot taxes. Yeah, that maybe robot work is not taxed today. Yeah, human work is taxed. So actually, we have a disadvantage from a tax system to disadvantage human work. So enterprises are incentivized to employ fewer and fewer humans, yeah, and more robots. Yeah? So is this a system, a sustainable system? No. Yeah? We have now technologies coming that's not just automating stuff, like blue-collar work, yeah? Like the car drivers, but we have now artificial intelligence coming that's replacing white-collar jobs, yeah? Doctors, lawyers. Who needs a lawyer if your system sets up the contract for you, yeah, and makes it better? Who needs a human doctor if artificial intelligence system recognizes or diagnoses cancer better than you? Yeah? Who needs a software programmer if the AI system can program itself? So suddenly and one of the things is maybe also to talk about that, we start talking about that universal basic income only now because jobs of male jobs are being endangered. Yeah? We were never talking about universal basic income for women, where the majority of the women are in these professions that are low paid, nursing, yeah, elderly care, and so on. We are talking now about that only because male jobs are being affected, like people in construction or people in manufacturing or drivers, yeah, which are predominantly male. So we are already kind of having, gender bias when we start suddenly talking about that. But the good thing is that we start talking about that, and I'm not sure if there's any solutions, but we have to start discussing them. And so I have not really an answer for you. It's just I try to make you more aware of those, and those changes are maybe coming faster than you think, and that means also we have to come up with solutions faster than we were aware of.
Okay. You mentioned in your presentation that the data protection rules that we have that we're using now in Europe could be one of the problems that is not speeding up innovation in that sense that it's done in the US market. But there's another topic because you mentioned a lot of Chinese companies, and I think it's not because of the, let's say, technological problem that we cannot produce nice electrical cars or solar panels or whatever in Europe. It's simply because our level of wages and our standard for environmental protection is much higher than compared to other countries. So how would you see this development that, whenever we buy you know, a nice LED panel or solar panel or an electric car, whatever. The vast majority of the component is produced in China with literally no environmental standards, and we are just living our nice eco life here in Europe, and we are just poisoning and killing the environment in another part of this planet.
So basically the Europeans are more or less holes because we are buying that and poisoning those people, and we live a good life. Yeah? That's a moral question. Of course, I've simplified that now. I've exaggerated, but you're right. So we are not building this technology. We actually are even inventing that sometimes. The Americans are inventing technology, are innovating. The Chinese are copying, and the Europeans are regulating that. That's basically how we do that. So you started out with GDPR. I mentioned GDPR because last year in May, when the GDPR took effect, you may remember in early May that you got all these emails from the different newsletters and distribution lists asking, please, you know, check it that you opt in into that because it's my 100th email that I get now from those companies. I don't even know who you are, and I'm not doing that. Yeah? But of course, Facebook and Google I did because I'm using it all the time, right? So this law was created in order to keep those big players from the US and from other countries away. But what it did actually is it didn't harm them at all. It harmed all these little companies and startups from Europe. Yeah? I know that from entrepreneur friends and even artists who had their own websites and newsletters who had troubles, because that is basically the way they do business, sending out emails, staying in contact with people, collecting emails so that they can have a customer base. Yeah? Artists had to shut down their website because they had, you know, their website with their artwork for over 10 years. And people commented on the art, leaving their email address, and suddenly this was under data protection. And they didn't have the means to get a lawyer, and they were afraid of these Abmahnrechtsanwälte. They were sending them all these kind of things. So the GDPR, in that sense, already started creating problems for local startups, for European startups and companies. In addition, the GDPR doesn't allow you, or has this kind of rules. You can only do certain data that you do. It cannot be private. They are not only personal or identified person. It has to age. That means you have to delete that. Yeah? And when we look now at the US, for example, suddenly there are applications on Google Street View being done to show gentrification of city parts through Google Street View data from the past 15 years. Now imagine in Europe, you wouldn't even have the data because you would have to delete that all the time. Yeah? Because you can identify people, so you don't even have that. You don't have the big data. You have engineers who are start censoring themselves and not tracking the data anymore because they are afraid to get into troubles with the legal department and rather not get into the stupid discussions and signing all these things, and in the end it's anyways again me that will be hit on that. I'm not even collecting the data. So you get data that's not rich. You have data that's not collecting enough. And when you are going into the artificial intelligence world, where you need suddenly a lot of data, and you don't know what the outcome may be or what the data will be used in 10 years from now, like Google Street View, you don't even have the data, you never had it. And that means if you're going to be a researcher there, you go in the end there where you have the data, where you have the peers, and that is in the US and in China. Now, do we want a situation like in China, where there are no data protection rules? No, certainly not. Yeah? But we are on the other side of the extreme. And we're even proud of that. Yeah? We don't even realize what problems we have there. And that stops us from innovating on data. I've shown you the slide of digital companies, yeah? The US. But that's one of the reasons. We don't have big data. We don't have, we have the GDPR instead. We don't have broadband. Yeah? We have not enough people having the newest smartphones, so people are not using phones, they're not using the smartphones in the ways, we don't have enough data. That means you're always a step back. And now, we suddenly want to become AI powerhouses going there. The German government talks about 3 billion euros that they want to put into that. Yeah? MIT alone puts $1 billion in the AI campus. Yeah? Shanghai, the city of Shanghai, puts in 14 billion for AI projects. Shanghai only. So we're talking about China, $130 billion in AI. So we don't even have the fundamentals of that thing, and now we want to be able to move from it. So here are a lot of things where we need to, can only blame ourselves. Yeah? We live in this comfortable world. We created this world. Our area was the Silicon Valley 100 years ago. Vienna was the Silicon Valley. You had all this literature, the music, the architecture, the medicine. Yeah? And now we just regulate ourselves to death and are too afraid of many things. And Germany is the same. So what can we do? There's a lot we should do.
One last very short question and a very short answer, please, Mario. You will still be here around with us.
Yeah.
You can mingle with everyone here, and so we will have the rest of the discussion. Please.
Okay, so it's a quick question. So as you mentioned in the presentation, there are 2,500 companies currently involved in autonomous development in one way or another. Yeah. Some will just be doing LiDAR or radar sensor development, but a lot will be trying to develop the whole platform like Waymo. Does that necessarily mean that we will have in future a competitive market for the platform? And as an extension of that, will we therefore have a competitive market for the provision of an autonomous taxi service, for example? Yeah, yeah. Because most of them are, of course, wanting to own that share as well.
Yeah. Well, I hope definitely that we will have a competitive, a lot of competition going on there. At the moment, of course, Waymo is like you say ahead, but we see a lot of activities from large other players. Baidu, for example, create their own Apollo platform, which is a self-driving code stack, which you do, where they have 150, 200 partners now from all over the years, automotive partners, OEMs, up to the little component makers as well. And this may be, I think, ending up in a more direction of smartphones, iOS versus Android. Yeah, that are the two dominant stacks today. When you look at that, actually you see the same game being repeated here. Waymo is, in this case, the closed stack, like the iOS. Yeah? And Baidu is doing the open source system, like Google did against Apple with Android. Yeah? So basically, Baidu is using the tactic that Google had used against Apple to use it now against Google. So I hope at least that will happen, and there will be smaller platforms, GM groups, maybe when there are some other platforms being developed. If they are dominant or not, I'm not sure. We will see probably a lot of niches, for transporting taxis, for having hotels that are driving around, supermarkets that are driving around, delivery vehicles that are driving around, maybe in logging trucks that go in forests and driving up, and it could be very different platforms. So I see a diversity there, but probably human-dominated systems will come from only 2 or 3 players, my guess. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. I want to really thank you from the entire team and for all the Kapsch employees to be our keynote speaker today. So first, really big Kapsch employees and our external guests today, from the Factory One program to the startups and their mentors. Thank you also for your interest and your curiosity to be part of our program. The dinner has already been served, so das Buffet ist eröffnet. Help yourself, have a nice evening together with us for the next 2 hours. I hope we can be here. And please take the opportunity, grab a book or 1 or 2 or both books from Mario. Perhaps there's a nice and good sign them in case somebody would like that. And you are still available with us. Thank you very much.